When you approach the vehicle with the key, it does have the full proximity key system. But when you get to the vehicle, it doesn't sense it and turn on any kind of lights or anything like that. When we hit the unlock button, it flashes the lights, but we still don't have any kind of exterior lights on, other than right in here, there's a light right where the handle is, kind of illuminates that handle. You do have the ability to toggle on and off the daytime running lights during the day. But basically, when you try to turn the headlights off, there is no off position. There's no way to turn off all the exterior lights on the vehicle when the vehicle's running. Now I have the parking lights on, and the parking lights consist of the daytime running lights, these white lights here in the center, kind of look like hockey sticks in a way. There's also an amber side marker here in the front. Tail lights are also on. There's a little single side marker here and red tail lights. And it's pretty cool. These tail lights kind of have this three-dimensional effect. They kind of extend inward towards the vehicle, and then has that Dodge badging there in the center. And just really nice all the way across tail lights, and they are red in color. The turn signal basically takes that white light that we saw and turns it a little bit of a brighter amber color. So that's the turn signal here in the front. You do have a turn signal indicator here on the side mirror, which is visible from the front, the side, and the back. It's a little bit brighter here in the back. And the rear turn signal is a red turn signal, kind of integrated into the tail light. We're going to look at the headlights on a very dark road, but right now, let's just look at the low beams, and this is a multi-reflector LED system. See, the outer two reflectors illuminate on the low beams, and then the inner portion joins in to complete the set when you have the high beams on. And the cutoff is probably about 2.5 feet off the ground. And above that is much less bright, and then below that is the full power of the low beams. So now I turn the high beams on, you can see that inner reflector is now illuminated. Now it maintains the low beam cutoff, it just adds that additional light there in the center, which is a higher and brighter light that, you know, for your high beams. The lights here in the cargo area, you notice, is not dark. The reason why is because this is a black interior vehicle, black exterior, and some of the lights are kind of lacking. So for you to see anything, I have to do this a little bit with a little bit of daylight still left in the sky. Now it does have two lights, so that's impressive, that's good, and they're in a high position, and they're positioned well. They're just very dim. So this whole area, even though it's shining here and there and it's trying to eliminate shadows, they need to be brighter. So I would suggest getting a brighter bulb to put in these housings, basically, and then it would be pretty decent. The inside of the back doors do have a puddle light right here. So it's not an approach light. It shines under the door when you open it up only, and illuminates the ground here, which is really nice, handy, especially on the back door. That's nice. There's a very subtle light in this pocket down at the bottom, right in here. I don't know if you can see that. Right in there, very subtle. Same thing with the handle here. Very subtle light. Very hard to see, but at very low levels of light you can see them, and it does help out a little bit. And then the backlit illuminated power switch for the window. But having that puddle light, really nice. The back seats, they're illuminated by these center lights here, as well as like a little moon, I'll refer to it as a moonlight light, and it illuminates there in the center when the doors are shut. But we do have some USB ports that are backlit illuminated, which is cool. But other than that, that's about it. There's no lights whatsoever. The floorboard is dark, and with the black interior, you know, just really inadequate light, I would say. Front door also has a puddle light, so you can see it there on the underside of the door. Shines on the ground, so you can see what you're stepping in when you get out, basically. There's a little bit of light, just like the back, very subtle light right in here. Just kind of illuminates this area a little bit. Same thing with the handle here, very subtle. It's kind of hard to see that light. It's so subtle right in here, but it does have one. And then you have the backlit buttons here and here. There's a little bit of a floorboard illumination, and I'll show you that when we get inside and shut the door, because it's real hard to tell unless it's super dark. And the interior lights here on the front are provided by these 3 lights there in the center. But there is some areas in which needs improvement, of course, and we'll see that in a second. Have the interior lights on now so you can see what it looks like from this perspective. I'm going to go ahead and turn those off. They kind of slowly fade away, and we're left with backlit buttons. So you can see this little pocket in the doors illuminated here, and a little handle there. Hopefully you can see that. And the buttons here on the door. You can see the illumination in the floorboard is mostly on the left side, but it does help out a lot. It's not super bright, but it does kind of help out, giving floorboard illumination. Kind of gives you your bearings, and it doesn't feel like you're putting your feet into a dark abyss, you know. I kind of like that. You can see the switches for the headlights and the dimmer switch here to the left of the steering column, and the steering column itself is illuminated. Now there's buttons that are not illuminated. So here on the left side, right here in this dark spot, is the cruise control. On the right side is the scroll wheel. Let me go ahead and turn the interior lights on, because those are important buttons, and they're not illuminated, so they kind of just disappear at nighttime unless you're, you know, already familiar with the vehicle. Eventually you'll get familiar with the vehicle and you won't need to have them illuminated, I guess, because you can just kind of feel your way around. But it would be nice if they completed the set of illumination there. The windshield wiper stock is not illuminated either, so same thing, you would have to be familiar with it. And turn signal indicator stock, there's nothing there, but there is the screen looking nice, and you can adjust the brightness using the dimmer switch here. And we're just gonna kind of scroll. You don't scroll. It feels like a scroll wheel, but you have to hold it down or hold it up, and it kind of goes up and down. I'm just gonna bump it actually, so you can see it, the different levels here. Alright, and there is the screen, which actually had the brightness kind of high on the camera, so the screen looks a little bit blown out. And then there's backlit buttons for the climate control, USB ports, 12-volt power supply, the start button. Now, right in here is, once again, we have a pocket with a very subtle light, but it is really good to have that light. And this is the area in which you put your cell phone. And let me turn on the interior light so you can see what I'm talking about. That area has that very subtle light. Alright, so right in there has that light. Not obvious from right here, but once I put my hand there, you can see it. And there's the shifter, buttons around here. Now right in here, you can see the cup holders are not illuminated, but if you see this light on my hand, if you follow it up and keep on going, you'll see that it goes right up to these little lights right here, and these kind of give you that moonlight light I was talking about. Same thing in the back. You have this light there in the center and illuminates. You can see it's mostly focused right there in the center of the seat, but it does give you a little bit of illumination there in the center and the back, and that light kind of helps out. These are completely dark, but also the center console here, you can see it kind of cuts off that light, doesn't go all the way to the center console. It's too bad, because this is not illuminated and it's just a dark abyss. Even with the interior lights on, you can see a little bit there on the top, but it just kind of, I mean, I increased the brightness a lot on the camera so you can see down in there, but other than that, it's really hard to see. Glove compartment does have a light in it. That's nice. It's not a red light. It's actually, there's like a red bag in here that's making it look red. It's just a regular light. Okay, so up next to these little moonlights, we do have some backlit buttons. All these are backlit, including the lights that turn on the interior lights, which is nice. Some manufacturers kind of don't do that. And the visor has a light and a mirror. Let's go ahead and put it in reverse. Let me see the backup camera. Let me lower the brightness a little bit so you can see it. The clarity is so fantastic on this camera. And of course it's showing the parking sensors as well here. But yeah, you can see really good with that camera system, even at nighttime. The door lock is pretty cool because right now it's unlocked. When we lock it, this red light turns on. It's there, and you can see it on the other side as well. So it lets you know that the doors are locked, and it's nice and bright. So when we unlock it, it goes away, lock it, it shows back up. Here's the different views on the screen here. So you can see these bushes right here, and you can see the clear cutoff right there. So let's go to high beams, and then there's low beams, so you can see the difference. And that cutoff, you can see it has a little bit of a shadow, a little bit to the left of center. I don't know if you can see that. And that shadow is supposed to line up with the oncoming lane on the road. So as we're driving, there's an oncoming lane on the other side, and that shadow is just kind of help avoid blinding cars as you're going up and down hills and stuff, because the line doesn't stay the same place all the time because you're going up and down. So therefore that shadow is supposed to help alleviate the accidental blinding of other cars. So we'll see how well it works, but also we'll see how well the automatic high beams work as well. Those are always I'm always skeptical of those because they don't tend to work very well usually. Okay, so you can see that oncoming car, and you can see the lane. We're going to go downhill, and you can see the cutoff is going to shine more on the ground. And you can see that shadow is lining up where it's supposed to line up on the other side of the road there. A lot of cars out tonight, so we can kind of see where the cutoff lands on other cars as well as the oncoming lane shadow. I don't know the exact term for that, but sometimes it looks like a notch, sometimes it looks like a shadow. It's a little bit on my lane, but it's supposed to be more on the oncoming lane. I guess at close-up distances it'll be closer to my lane, I guess. Okay, so the vehicle in front of me, you can see that the cutoff is below the glass, so it's just shining on the back bumper but not into the back glass, which is good to see. Here's a little bit of a darker road. We're still not on high beams yet because there's a lot of cars right now. But just to give you an idea of how well the low beams work, you can see that shadow kind of widens up quite a bit away from the vehicle. Lines up with the other side of the road, but it does kind of, it seems like it's a little bit of the shadows in my lane, so that's not all that great. But overall visibility seems to be good. You can see on the side of the road and in front of the vehicle nicely. Okay, so now we have some high beams on a dark road, and they do fill in that center part nicely. We have some better distance, much better distance. We still have the visibility there on the sides. We still have the visibility there on the front of the vehicle, but now we've added that distance and that height that we didn't have before, using those center reflectors. So I can see those trees off in the distance. I can see down the road quite well. There is a little tiny bit of patchiness because we're overlapping all these different reflector headlights to fill in everything, but it's not bad at all.